Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer Brittany of Ethereal Astrology with horoscopes inspired by the moon. Let me be your guide. Today you're watching your astrology horoscope for the full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, which occurs on Friday, May 5th, 2023 at 1:34 p.m. Eastern Time or 10:34 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio is that we're realizing that we need to end, let go of, or release relationships, money, and any other internal or subconscious habits here that are preventing us from moving forward in a new and better experience of life in a more masterful way that is slow, stable, secure, thrifty, and self-reliant here. And that actually being very hard for us to realize, hard for us to make decisions to do, and very chaotic, creating unexpected endings, arguments, disagreements, and challenges that we're going to have to learn how to deal with. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more, please stay tuned because we're going to hop into that right now. In order to get started, what I like to do first is, of course, place it on the chart, what I'm going to be referring to in this video, so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is for the full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio. Because of that, I've adjusted my chart accordingly for that event. I know that because I've got the moon here in Scorpio making an exact opposition over here to the sun in Taurus. When the moon opposes the sun here, that is what is considered a full moon. Okay? And I know that it is an eclipse because both of these things are near the in close proximity to the nodal axis here, which makes it an eclipse. And with this being a full moon, it's a lunar eclipse here that's going on, okay? So this is what we've got happening here. Now, what is this full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio all about? Well, let's break the pieces down. Let's start with a full moon. What are full moons about? Well, full moons are all about taking something as far as it can go, since that is when the moon is the furthest from the sun here, and finishing things and bringing things to completion, especially things that we've been working towards for quite some time. Not only that, but full moons are also about receiving some kind of insight or revelation or illumination, also about something we've been trying to figure out for a while as well, especially because that is when the moon is the brightest in the sky. Not only that, but a full moon is also a function here of an opposition. And oppositions are also a lot about choices, since it's hard to do two opposite things at once. So a lot of things that are going on at this full moon here are some big realizations about things we've been trying to work towards for quite some time here, and how we can finish and tie those up, which may require some sort of decisions. Okay. Not only that, but this is an eclipse. An eclipse is superpower those things and make them more significant than normal. So a more significant realization, a more significant, tying things up, a more significant choice here about our life here that's been going on to more fully be dealt with at this time. Okay. Not only that, but in terms of the eclipse, it is near the nodal axis, which is what makes a lunation an eclipse here. And in this case, this full moon eclipse is near the south node. Okay, now the south node is a little more difficult, I need to note, than maybe a lot of other things in astrology, and especially more so than the north node that's going on. So this can also make this full moon eclipse perhaps a little more challenging, perhaps, than some of the other things or events that can go on. What is the difficulty here when it comes to the south node? Well, the south node is really a point of ending things, releasing things, and letting things go here, which by nature a lot of times is just hard. It's hard to do that. Not only is it hard because just endings sometimes are hard, but the south node too also indicates things that we've grown comfortable with or accustomed to in some kind of way that just feel just more natural to us here as well. So that also makes it more difficult when you have to let go of something that feels more comfortable to you that maybe you don't want to let go of here. So there's a lot of that going on, realizations about something we've been working towards for a while, that we need to let go of something in order to move forward, which we don't want to let go of here, that may require some hard decisions. That is a challenge. What is it that we need to let go of here? Well, the south node is in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is a lot about actual relationships and our lives and money situations, especially relationships and money situations with the South Node there that have grown unhealthy here and that have become a little too intertwined in some ways, or maybe codependent. We'll use that word since the South Node is a little more negative here, or relationships in which we're getting too much of our value and worth from instead of sourcing it from within ourselves. Okay, not only is it about relationships, right? It's about money. So this is also about us ending not only relationships that are not healthy, but financial situations that are also not healthy, in which we're maybe spending too much money or losing money. In addition to that, Scorpio too is also a lot about our subconscious emotions, beliefs, habits, patterns, and things like that, especially too as it pertains to relationships and money. So not only are we realizing at this lunar eclipse that maybe we need to end some relationships in our lives and money situations, but also internal perspectives, habits, beliefs, attitudes also about relationships and money that may be contributing to these external experiences that are also unhealthy, and in particular too intertwined, too codependent, and things like that. Not only that, but other things too that we might also need to let go of, even though those are the themes I'm going to focus on the most in this video, is that Scorpio also does have a lot to do with some of our deepest desires here that's going on. So we might also need to let go of some of those that may just not be useful for us at the time being. In addition to that, Scorpio also has to do with trauma from the past and things that went wrong in the past with relationships and money. So we might also need to heal and release some of that as well so that we can move forward. And it also does, Scorpio has to do with change. And in the case with the South Node, right, unnecessary change, too much unnecessary change here that's going on that we might also need to release in order to move forward. So there's a lot of that going on. Not only do I want to note that, but I also want to note as well, because of the South Node and the difficult nature of this and the Scorpio influence, this can also bring up a lot of internal triggers from in our lives, from childhood, things like that around this whole process that can be very hard to deal with. And also too, with Scorpio being a relationship sign, this can bring up arguments and conflicts here with yourself or others as well about this stuff here that is going on. All right. And I think that's all that I want to say here for the time being about this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, is that we're getting significant realizations at this time here about something we've been trying to work towards for a while and figure out. And the significant realizations that we're getting here is that we actually need to end, let go of, and release more things in our life that are not in our best interest, especially relationships and money themselves that are too intertwined and not healthy for us, giving our power away, and attitudes and beliefs about relationships and money that are also unhealthy here, too intertwined and not in our best interest, and some other things too, like trauma from the past, some of our deepest desires, and a tendency to change things too much as well. That could require some hard decisions, be very triggering to us here, and maybe even create some arguments and disagreements. Okay, because that's all I'm going to say for now about the main themes here of this full moon lunar eclipse. I'm going to go backwards in time for a minute here before I move forwards. And I want to move backwards in time just to give you more context of how we got here and of why those themes are now coming up to be felt, lived through, and experienced here in order for us to move forward. Okay, so I'm going to do that. In order to go back in time, I'm going to go back quite a bit here in the past in order to catch you up. A lot of you in my last video said that you like it when I go so far back, so I guess we'll keep doing it for a little bit longer. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back to an alignment that occurred around, roughly January to April here of 2020. Around that time here, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all came into a conjunction here around the middle to late degrees of the sign of Capricorn here. That is a very difficult alignment. It's a very difficult alignment because Saturn and Pluto are involved, which are both malefic planets, can be a bit of a challenge, and Jupiter doesn't help that much. Not only was it a difficult alignment, but it also too is a bit of a rare alignment as well, because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years, and Jupiter's not always there when that happens. What was the very difficult, rare thing that had occurred? Well, Pluto is about big change here. Saturn and Capricorn are a lot about the structure and direction of our lives that's going on. And Jupiter, of course, can expand that here. And it was big change going on in the structure of our lives because really something wasn't right, or something, the life that we had been living maybe for many decades prior to that point was no longer in alignment with us here in the way that we might have liked. Okay, so that's it. January to April of 2020, we realized my life, something not right about it. I don't like it. Something big has got to change here in order for me to fix it, which was hard. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, happening about 2 years after that, last year, April of 2022. At that time, we had a new moon solar eclipse over here in the sign of Taurus. Okay, what was that about? Well, new moons are all about new beginnings. Solar eclipses and superpowering that. Taurus is a lot about fertility, abundance, here sustaining a different type of life here that's going on. So in April of 2022, I think we had changed enough things to end this old experience of life, and we're starting to enter more of a new and better experience of life that we felt was more abundant for us, was more fruitful, was more beautiful, was more in alignment here with who we were becoming, which was very good. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which happened 2 weeks after that, which I believe was also as well in April of 2022. At that time, we had a full moon lunar eclipse also in the sign of Scorpio. Sounds familiar, where one is now. Here, that was going on. Hey, that to me was also a bit of a challenge here because it was on the south node. What was that about? Well, I think what happened at that full moon eclipse in Scorpio in April of 2022 is that we tried to move more forward on this new, different, and better experience that was here after making changes to get there for a few years. And we ended up running into roadblocks, moving into this beautiful life and making it more of a thing, which I think made us feel stuck and really frustrated and really uncomfortable. Not only was it running into roadblocks here that were very hard, but I think that was also us getting insights from spirit or the divine, from our intuition at that time here, about why we were feeling stuck and about what was holding us back. And I think the insight that we got, especially with Scorpio having to do with relationships, money, our own emotions, and being too intertwined, and with it being near the south node, was that we need to end that. Was that the reason why we were having difficulty moving forward into a new, different, and better experience in life is because we still were dealing with people and money situations that were not right here, and had habits and attitudes about relationships and money that were too codependent, too intertwined, too fast, not stable, not secure, here, not supportive of us, and that we needed to end those things and adopt a different approach to life that was slower, more stable, more secure, more self-reliant, especially with the north node. Here in the sign of Taurus. Okay. So I think that went on there. And if I can be honest with you, I think it took us like almost all of last year to really understand, like, why are we feeling stuck? What's going on? What do I have to release? I think it took us a while. It wasn't really until December of last year, 2022, when we had Mercury go retrograde here in the sign of Capricorn, this over the same degrees that Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto came conjunct in 2020, that I think we started to get it. That I think we started to understand here that we needed to let go of more relationships and more money situations here that were not slow, stable, secure, self-reliant, and more inner attitudes, and made some of the adjustments here in order for that to occur. Which then, when Saturn moved into Pisces, I believe it was in March, around there of this year, we then started to feel like we were finally more able to release the past, Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, and with Pluto entering Aquarius also in March of this year to move forward into the future. Aquarius, the future, in more of this new, different, and better experience, more completely now that we have more of the correct perspective. Okay, and that was a very good thing. But even though we were more completely in a new, different, and better experience of life with the correct perspective, we then had the new moon solar eclipse 2 weeks ago here at the last degree of Aries, which is very intense. Okay, and Aries is a lot about action, and the last degree in a lot of ways is about mastery. So even though we finally, as of, April of this year, 2023, finally felt more ready to step into a new, different, and better experience of life that had really, would really been trying to work towards for a while here with more of the correct approach, we realized that we still weren't ready to move forward fast in life because we needed to make sure that we mastered this different approach to life and didn't repeat the same old habits and patterns from the past here with the relationships and money, and could more completely step into a different experience in this better way. Okay, that is going on. And I think the more that we, over the course of the past 2 weeks, tried to master this new experience of life and this slow, stable, and secure way of doing it without these attitudes and habits and people and beliefs that weren't helpful, the more we tried to do that, I think we started to realize, especially now, today, this time, this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, that we still have a few more things in our perspective, in our life, with relationships and money that we still haven't gotten rid of yet, that we still haven't ended here, that are still in the way, that are still preventing us from bringing things together here that we need to confront, come to terms with, make the hard decisions to get rid of, even if there's arguments there, in order to work more things out. That's going on. Okay, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say there in terms of the context. Because that's it, I'm just going to repeat that very quickly. So I'm going to do that now. What I think is going on here, the big picture, if you will, of this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, it's that we're realizing that we still have not gotten rid of enough relationships and money in our lives that are not healthy, not working, not good for us here. And we still haven't gotten rid of enough internal approaches, perspectives on life here that are also not good for us here when it comes to this new and better chapter of life, and that are not masterful, slow, stable, and secure, and that now we need to get rid of those things and clear those things out once and for all and make the hard decisions to do so, even if it's triggering and causes arguments, in order for us to move forward. Okay, that's what this is about. I also want to note here, sorry, one more thing before I move more into the aspects. This is the last lunar eclipse in Scorpio here for a while, for, a few years until the nodes come back in the opposite direction. And because this is the last eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, there is something more final about it. And there is something more complete of like, gotta fix everything, gotta end not just one relationship, one money situation that's not working for me, not just one attitude and belief that's disempowering. It's like, no, clean them all out. Clean them all out. You gotta get rid of all these people that aren't working for you. You gotta get rid of all these money situations. You gotta get rid of all these, habits and beliefs about your worth and your value that are disempowering. You got to get rid of all of them more completely here in order to move forward because of that. And too, with Scorpio being a fixed sign, the fixed signs don't do halvesies. They like to do it all the way here. So that's another thought that I want to emphasize here. This is us more completely getting rid of relationships, money, and habits and beliefs about relationships and money that are not helpful for a new and better experience in life, and that are not in service of the better, more masterful, slow, stable, and secure approach to it. Right? Because we've already been trying to get rid of a lot of it in the past year or two, but we haven't done it enough. Now we got to do it all more completely in order to move forward. Okay, and that's it. Because that's what I'm going to say there, I'm now going to go more into detail about this eclipse itself and how it's going to play out here as we move forward in time. And to do that, I'm going to mention the specific astrological aspects here that this eclipse is making. So let's do that. Let me first start by just placing it on the chart again, since I have erased some things. Here's the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which is, of course, conjunct the south node or in close proximity to it in the same sign. Which we identified is about ending, releasing, and letting go of actual relationships and money, and attitudes and beliefs and feelings about relationships and money that are disempowering, unhealthy, too codependent, too intertwined, giving too much of your power away to these other things. Okay. That then leads me now to the next alignment I want to talk about, which is that this full moon eclipse in Scorpio here is making an opposition here to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Okay, of course, where the sun is also conjunct as well. Okay, what is this about? I need to note that in many ways, this is a bit of a difficult alignment here. A difficult alignment because, of course, we've already talked about the full moon being an eclipse on the south node, which is hard. here, but it's also difficult as well because the moon is in the sign of Scorpio where it doesn't like to be and doesn't really function that well. And also too, because Uranus is in the sign of Taurus where it also doesn't like to be and also doesn't function that well. So in many ways, this is a very challenging alignment if you didn't already get that so far from this video. Here, what is the challenge that's going on? Well, Uranus is about the sudden and the unexpected. Here, a sudden and unexpected realization, but also a sudden and unexpected event that either we can initiate to end relationships, money, or attitudes about those that aren't working, or for someone else to end our relationship, our money, to end something with us here that's not in alignment as well. Not only can this make it sudden and unexpected, but Uranus also has a lot to do with anxiety and nervousness, anxiousness. It can also bring a lot of that going on here that can also be very hard to calm down, very hard to get a handle on in a lot of ways here. Not only that too, but Uranus, because it can be so startling and anxiety can shake things. And in particular with the Taurus, shake the confidence, our self-worth, our stability and security, at least temporarily here while we're working some of these things out. And maybe while we're in arguments or getting into disagreements with people and things, or trying to figure some of this stuff out here, that can be quite hard here at this time. Okay. So what this is meaning to me, right, to continue with it, is that at this full moon lunar eclipse, we're realizing that we need to more completely end negative relationships and negative money situations in which we're giving too much of our power away, and negative attitudes, beliefs, feelings about relationships and money that also aren't helpful here, and make the hard decisions to do so, which is happening suddenly and unexpectedly here, creating a lot of arguments and disagreements, triggering us, making us anxious, nervous, and restless, and feeling really unstable and ungrounded and insecure here. That is extremely challenging. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment. I'm going to come back to that one because there's something else I want to say here, but I'm going to save that for last. The next alignment that I want to talk about for now is also going to be the fact that this full moon eclipse in Scorpio is making an opposition here to Mercury, still retrograde in Taurus. It's not like the closest alignment in the world, but it is still around. So I'm going to talk about that. This to me is also a little bit of a challenging thing here too. Not as challenging as the other alignment, but definitely a little challenging because oppositions are technically harder here than some of the other aspects. And because Mercury is still retrograde here as well, even though it is nearing the end of its retrograde period. So this can be a little challenging. In what way can it be challenging? Well, Mercury has to do with our thought processes and our communication, and the retrograde can make that a little hazy and a little funny. So this could also create not only sudden and unexpected, endings and realizations and arguments about all of that are anxiety ridden, but it can also create confusion, and miscommunications here about the whole thing, and you not knowing sure what to make about what to make about the whole thing here that's going on, especially as things are changing and shifting, or with the retrograde reworking and readjusting themselves here as well. Okay. Not only that, but another alignment that I want to mention here is going to be the same full moon eclipse and Scorpio making a trine over here to Mars in Cancer. This to me is also a bit difficult as well because the moon is in Scorpio where it doesn't like to be, and Mars is in Cancer where it doesn't like to be. So here we are, more difficult things here happening at this time. What is the difficult thing going on here? Well, these are both water signs. They're very sensitive here, and they're not being aspected that well at the moment here. And so this could indicate uncomfortable emotions, a lot of triggers here in a lot of ways that's going on. Yeah, feeling ungrounded, unsecure. It can even bring out, some deep, dark emotions with the Scorpio stuff that can be challenging and make even more aggressiveness with the Mars and Cancer. Cancer's the crab. You make people more snappy, more aggressive here. That can go on. Not only that, but Cancer is a lot about our foundations in life, and with the Mars not liking to be there and this uncomfortable aspect with the moon and Scorpio, it can also make us feel out to sea, out to drift, ungrounded, nothing to hold on to, in life, kind of feeling alone, especially if we're ending some things with people or telling some people off here that I think could be quite hard. Alone, out to drift, that can be a bit of a challenge, right? So what then now do I advise, right? We talked a lot about how this is a hard full moon eclipse. So what might I give you as some advice here on how to handle that? Well, what I want to look at now to give you that advice is going to be back to one of the first alignments that I mentioned here, which is the fact that this full moon eclipse is opposite Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And I want to go back to that, because even though that is a hard alignment, right? We've got the full moon in Scorpio, a sign it doesn't like to be in, on the south node, which is hard, making an opposition, a hard aspect to Uranus and Taurus, also difficult. Even though there's a lot of things that are difficult about that, there is one very good thing that's going on here. What is the very good thing that's going on here? Well, Uranus in Taurus and the moon in Scorpio make what is called a unique alignment in astrology called a mutual reception. And a mutual reception is when you have two planets, even though I know the moon is a luminary here, both in signs they do not like at all, that they do not get along with, but where they love the opposite sign. And because of that, they start to get along and get real friendly with each other here and work together. And in this case, Uranus hates to be in Taurus, really doesn't like to be there, but loves Scorpio. It's exalted there. And the moon hates Scorpio, doesn't like to be there, but loves Taurus. So in this case, Uranus and the moon parent trap it, and they start to work together with each other in helpful ways. Now, it doesn't usually occur at once, right? It takes a minute to be like, what? I'm here, moon's there. It takes a minute to register, but it does eventually bring good things here. So there is a little bit of a silver lining here that this can bring that I want to use as advice. What is the silver lining or the advice that I want to give you? Well, the eclipse is on the south node, okay, which is a lot about letting things go, ending things, especially relationships and money and attitudes and behaviors about relationships and money that are disempowering and codependent and too intertwined. Okay, that's a lot of what it's about here. So the advice is to keep doing that, ending, releasing relationships and money and these attitudes, even if it doesn't feel good, and even if there are arguments, and even if it doesn't feel like it's working at first, because if you can do it, it is eventually, once these planets figure it out, going to come together here, and going to come together in very positive ways that maybe you can't see at first here that you need. How are the positive ways that it's going to come together? Well, Uranus is about the sudden and unexpected. So these sudden and unexpected challenging events can clear up suddenly and unexpectedly to be much better all of a sudden, right? As time moves on. Not only that, but Uranus too, if we want to talk about in a positive sense, is about doing things to a more extreme degree or a more revolutionary degree. And if we're going to do Taurus, right, it's in Taurus to that degree, especially because that's where the North Node is. It's about doing Taurus to a more extreme degree. And Taurus is a lot about more stability, more security, more confidence, more feelings in alignment with our needs and values here, better relationship situations that are more in alignment with who we are, and saving money or making money here as well. So if you can, keep ending, keep releasing these things, relationships and money externally and internally, they're not working for you, even if it feels crazy, even if it feels scary, even if it feels hurtful, even if there's arguments, even if you're confused and you don't know what's going on. If you can keep doing it, all of a sudden, when you least expect it here, it's going to work. It's going to work to help you feel even more stable, even more secure than you were before, even more confident, even more in alignment with yourself here, even better about money, and more able to take the bull by the horns. So if you want to talk about Taurus, roll by the bull, and to enter a new and better experience of life, and to enter a new and better experience of life here in a more masterful way that is correct, that is more deliberate, that is more intentional, and that's going to help you get a better result with it long term here as you move forward. Okay. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say here, because that's it. All I'm going to mention in terms of the astrological aspects here, I'm now just going to repeat all of those things one last time without the astrological jargon, so you can get a little bit of a different and better idea of what I think is going on here. So let me do that now. What I think is going on here, this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. is that we're realizing that we need to end, release, or let go of more things in our lives with relationships and money, and our attitudes towards relationships and money that are not slow, stable, secure, thrifty, self-reliant, and masterful, and that are too intertwined with other people and things, too codependent here, or that are giving too much of our power away, and that we need to make the hard decisions in order to do so, which can be which can happen suddenly and unexpectedly, that we initiate or other people initiate with us, trigger us, and create a lot of arguments and disagreements and make us feel really challenged, insecure, unstable, confused, triggered, ungrounded, aggressive, and all of that. But if we can continue to end and release these things that need to be ended and released with relationships and money, even if it doesn't feel comfortable, even if we don't want to, and even if we don't think that it's working, all of a sudden, when you least expect it, all of this stuff is going to clear up much better than you ever could have imagined, to put you more fully into a new, different, and better experience of life with a proper perspective that's slow, stable, secure, in order to handle it in a more masterful way, which is going to have you just feeling more at ease about your experience, more ready to take the bull by the horns here and to do important things in your life that you might need here in this, better approach without this other stuff bringing you down. Okay. And that's it. Okay. Maybe to say or emphasize just a few other random points. This eclipse is about ending things. Okay. It's not about beginning things. All right. It's not about beginning things, because full moons in general aren't about beginning things. That's what new moons are about. Full moons are more about completing and ending things here. And also it's on the South Node, which is also not about beginning things, but anything. So this full moon eclipse is very much so about ending things. If you are beginning something at this time, I would be very careful with that. I would be very careful with that and know that it may fall apart and may not work out either when Mercury goes direct, a few days from now, or like a week or so from now, or even at a later point, a few months and years later from this. So I would be aware of that. This to me is more so about endings here. If you want to begin something, I would wait until Mercury goes direct on May 14th, and really till after that new moon in Taurus on May 19th. Okay. What else do I want to note here is that what you are ending is I'm seeing, maybe for the sake of explanation, two categories. What a lot of you are ending here are external situations with relationships and money. So like a lot of you are ending relationships with people you're dating, with business partners, with friendships. I mean, it could be anything, any type of relationship that hasn't been already ended and taken care of the past year. A lot of you are also ending money situations, which can be, jobs or ways of dealing with money and things like that. Okay. Not only is that what I think is being ended, physical endings with relationships and money that you may be initiating or someone may be initiating with you, but I also see as well endings of internal states. There's a lot of internal states that need to be ended here as well, which include perspectives about relationships and money here, and in particular perspectives about relationships and money in which you are giving your power away to other people out of and money out of fear or trauma or things like that. So there's a need to end emotional and internal states. Like, what could that be? There's a need to end, to give you some examples, there's a need to end this idea that relationships are always going to leave and always going to abandon you, and that you're not worthy of love, or there's a need to end, this feeling that you always have to be in a relationship in order to be fulfilled or in order to be successful or secure. Or to give you another example, there's a need to end an idea that some of you might have about money, that you're never going to make money, that you're always going to be poor, or there might be a need to end that, or there's a need to end some attitudes about money that your identity comes from how much money that you have, which it doesn't, so there could also be some need to end a lot of those things here as well that's going on. Not only that, but I also need to note that for the majority of you, I think it's actually both need to be ended, external and internal, because a lot of times external things, especially if this is an external situation, are a result of internal perspectives. So maybe not always, but many times, if there's a person in your life that you're being codependent with, or that's not in alignment with you, that you're letting them stay around, here, a lot of times it is because of something internal that hasn't been addressed that you're allowing that to happen, okay? Now, not all the time, right? Sometimes you can, I understand you can be forced against your will, but many times, right, if we're allowing an abusive person in our life, there is a lot of times an attitude underlying that and a belief here that's persisting, letting that persist, that needs to be addressed here as well, in order for all of that to come together. Okay, so I want to say there, not only do I want to say that, but maybe other words I'll use as well is that this could trigger a lot of wounds from childhood in your subconscious. So this full moon lunar eclipse could also be as well about doing shadow work. If that's a word, that phrase that resonates with some of you all, or inner child healing or healing trauma here, in order to get rid of this stuff that's no longer serving you so that you can move forward here in this better way. Okay. Other thoughts that I want to add here as well. It's ending these things. Why are we ending these things? Let me give that now. What's going on right now in our experience is that we're trying to step into a new, different, and better experience of life that we've never been in before. And when you're stepping into a new and different and better experience of life that you've never been in before, you got to cut out these bad attitudes and habits and beliefs about relationships and money early before they, create havoc and infest and ruin this new experience later on, so we got to get rid of these now to this fullest extent as we can at this full moon, the last one, lunar eclipse in Scorpio, so that these negative habits and beliefs don't ruin or infest, whatever is meant to happen. And also the people and the money situations, we need to get rid of those so that they don't ruin whatever needs to be done here in our lives after this point as well, and can have the best shot at creating success, because you partnering with the wrong people can, make something go sour real fast in your new beginning that you want to have. Okay. What else do I want to note? Okay, so that's why, in case some of you are curious, like why you need to get rid of the dead weight here when it comes to the relationships and money and these beliefs and habits and things that are not conducive to this other stuff here that's going on. Okay, another thing that I want to note as well is that the advice that I gave you is to end this stuff, end the relationships, end the money, end all of that. There could be some of you that could, with some of the confusion going around at this full moon eclipse, that could get flip-floppy, especially too because Venus is going to be at the last degree of Gemini here. That could get flip-floppy because you want to end something and all of a sudden you're scared and you're triggered and you're like, no, let's get back together. And with Mercury retrograde, and it's like, don't do that. Okay, don't do that. Something needs to end. Okay, something needs to end here, I believe, and be let go of. And if something needs to end, let it end. Let it end. Don't get flip-floppy. Don't try to get, back together here. I think it's a sign, something needs to end, because if you're going to get flip-floppy here and not end this thing, you're not going to get the good stuff, and you're not going to get the stability and security and set yourself up the best for success here. So keep that in mind here. Don't get flip-floppy here. Don't go back to things, or don't go back to exes, things like that. I think there's a need to draw a firm line in the sand with these old things and just hold true to that so that you don't make the matter even more confusing here that's going on. Okay, another thought that I want to say here too is that with some of these arguments that may be occurring, especially if this is an external situation here with relationships and money, is that with the Taurus influence and even with the Aries, like we did just have a solar eclipse in Aries, that you ending these relationships and money situations may have some people calling you selfish here with the Taurus and Aries influence, or may have them calling you too harsh, too aggressive, like whatever it is here, or may have you feeling like that, may have you feeling like you're being selfish because you're ending a thing and you're being too aggressive. And it's like, don't even worry about that. Don't worry about that here. That's going on, and because there is a need to kind of be selfish at this time. Like there is a need to be selfish and maybe even stand up for yourself and be a little bit more aggressive here with the Taurus and the Aries influence. Taurus and Aries are known as more of the selfish side of the zodiac. The side that's more diplomatic is the Libra, and the South Node's about to be in Libra. So that's another thing that I want to say here too, is that some of you might have to be a little more selfish or a little more aggressive when it comes to ending these situations, and don't make anyone guilt you for that and make you feel bad for for you taking care of you here, because I think that that's what needs to happen. There is a time for diplomacy. It's just not now. It's just not now. Okay. It's just not now. It's another 9 years away. Right. So that's the thing that I want to say there. Another thought that I want to say too is not only like, don't let anyone guilt you for being aggressive or selfish, because if you're going into your new experience, you want it to be the best that you can here. And you got to watch out for that to make sure things are going to come together. But another thought that I want to have a note here too is that Taurus and Aries, which are really what we need to be cultivating more of, because that's where the North Node is, are also the more solitary side of the zodiac. They're more of the signs that will be alone or don't mind being alone. So not only do I want to say that some of you may feel selfish or aggressive at this time, and don't let anyone make you feel bad for that or guilt you into that. That's a fine thing. If you need to be that to get the job done, fine. Here, but that some of you may also have to learn to be okay with being alone, right? If you're going to end a relationship, then what that might mean is that there's not another one for you to go to. You're going to have to be alone. So some of you also are going to have to come to terms with being alone and to realize that there are worse things in life than being alone. There just is. Worse things in life than being alone, and are going to have to get more comfortable being alone, and being by yourself and getting to know yourself better here as well, and to not let any fears around being alone, make you fall back into these old relationships and habits that you're not supposed to be in here that's going on, because I think that can also happen for some of you too. So I also wanted to note that. Don't let anyone guilt you for being selfish and aggressive and for looking out for yourself, okay? Because that's over, okay? Don't let anyone guilt you for that, and don't go back into situations that are unhelpful for you and mindsets that are unhelpful because you're afraid of being alone. Don't do it. Because there's nothing wrong with being alone. That's the fear and insecurity and these unhelpful beliefs talking, that are what need to get rid of here at this time, okay? And I think that's all that's coming to me here. And more stuff with relationships and money, and more internal attitudes about relationships and money that are not good for you, where you're giving too much of your power away at this time, even if it creates arguments, disagreements, fears, and insecurities here, because it's going to work out for you in the end if you keep with it, to set you up better for this new experience of life. And don't let anyone guilt and shame you for being aggressive or looking out for numero uno here, because that's what you need to be doing. You need to be doing that here, and don't let the fear of being alone make you fall backwards, and don't be flippy flappy here. End the stuff and move on. There's something better out there, and maybe that's another thought too, there's something better out there. Because another thing that's going on is that some of you may not be ending these things with relationships and money, not only because you've got beliefs that are too intertwined with relationships and money, and you've got this lack mentality and you're afraid of being alone, but some of you may not end these things because you're afraid that you're never going to find anything better. That's a lie. You are going to find something better. Okay? You're going to find something better out there. And you also need to come to terms with that and stop believing that unhelpful thing about relationships and money here too. Because there is something better, and you staying in these situations with these people and things that aren't good for you is going to bring you further away from actually finding the better thing that you need to be finding. Here, okay. So I think that's what I'm going to say. Because of that, I'm now going to take a look at your inside degrees. Your inside degrees were not written by me. They were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings for each of the degrees from Spirit. But I really like his work and find it interesting and accurate. So we're going to look at that here. I've got the third quarter moon up on the screen, but we're going to look at the lunar eclipse. Let me navigate to it really quickly. 14 degrees. Okay. Let's start with 13 degrees Scorpio. The lunar eclipse is a 14, but I think the ones around it can all be relevant. So let's do that. 13 degrees Scorpio, discordance between inner self and outer world, myriad forms of conflict and misunderstanding. The intensity of what has been building up inside has gone too far, too long, and has become angry, vengeful, and saturated with resentment. Okay, let's stop here. Did I not say earlier in this video that I think this full moon eclipse is going to bring arguments confusion, misunderstandings, right? Did I not say it was going to happen? Here, to me, this is confirmed. This is a challenging full moon. There's arguments, disagreement, conflicts. Okay, that's going on here. Another thing that stands out to me as well about these first two sentences is that it also says, too, the intensity of what has been building up inside has gone too far for too long. And that's another thing that I want to emphasize too, because not only is this inside degree saying there is a lot of anger and frustration going on here and confusion at this full moon, but it's because there's something, I think, with relationships and money that has gone on for far too long here, and that we didn't end earlier. That maybe we were supposed to end last year here. Or maybe even the year before, 2020, the year before that in 2020, that we did not end. And because we didn't end it when we needed to end it, and now it's still here, now we're getting a chance to end it, but now we're mad that we didn't do it earlier. So I wanted to use that to emphasize there's something about this eclipse, especially with it being the last one in the sign of Scorpio for a while, that's about ending everything you didn't end before, that you needed to end earlier with relationships and money that wasn't done fully, that now you got to do. Okay, that now is harder. Now we're more upset about. Okay, let's read on. It says, meanwhile, the broader environment has come to seem in hallucinatory fashion to exclude everything you bear, and even to grotesquely deny your chances for a meaningful life. And so you dramatize karmically over and again the pre-programmed sequence of bringing out inward treasures and finding them spat upon or being given no room to let it out. Okay. What does this mean to me? It means to me that because we have to end more things in our life that we haven't fully ended here, and now we're angry about it, I think there is a little bit of a victim mentality. Oh, I'm never going to get where I want to go. I'm never going to have a meaningful life. Every good thing I do, people hate it. They spit on it. They don't like it. I think there's also a tendency to, play the victim here with ourselves or other people here that is going on, and bring on the drama, right? The dramatize. Bring on the drama here. That could be quite hard and be quite dark. See, it says it's a state of brooding darkness ensues. Fears and doubts multiply. Okay, so I think there's a lot of that. However, let's read on. A ray of hope exists. You must find, despite yourself, new ways to express and embody, implicitly embracing and encompassing the negative reflection feedback loop and saying, I can bring myself through another way, and this time I will take the charge off and just be authentic without expectations or assumptions. Okay. So what this is saying to me, to continue with this degree, is that, a lot of issues this full moon, anger, frustrations, especially with relationships and money, about things that have really gone on for far too long that we didn't end sooner, that now we need to end here. And because we didn't end it sooner, I think we're really frustrated and angry about it, maybe even playing the victim here in this negative, dark spiral loop of fears and insecurities here about our situation. And what needs to happen is we need to break through it. We need to break through the negative loops in our mind and tell ourselves a different story. Tell ourselves a different story, that life can be better, that relationships can be better, that money can be better, that we can do it differently, after this point here with what we've learned that's going on. And maybe even to do it says take the charge off in a way that's more detached. So not only, right, is the advice I gave you earlier in the video still apply, keep ending and releasing things even if it's hard here, but to end and release with an eye on hope and faith that things will get better, and you're in a more detached way from the situation. Okay, let's read on. 14 degrees Scorpio, the degree of the eclipse. Darkness, heaviness, sobriety, grimness, grief for lost worlds, dramatically cleansing what must be let go, freeing the spirit. Laboriously and intensively preoccupied with endings and captivated by the past, you're fascinated with the decomposition of things. Living deep in the unconscious inside collective dramas lost to yourself. Thrown into patterns, syndromes, worlds that require drastic measures to transform. A feeling of being cursed, a sensibility of doom. Wow, these are just sad. So more challenges here with this full moon eclipse. going on, and it's here to cleanse. It's here to cleanse and transform and end things that aren't working for you. Here to put you into a better place, even if it feels hard at first. Now let's look at Scorpio 15. It says, an extraordinary gift, very abusable and utterly redemptive. You invent, conceive, bring into being whatever you hope for and whatever you dread. Usually the dreads come up more first and dominate for a while. Yeah. Yeah, but eventually, right, the magical will to bring the world around right will emerge. So what I'm getting here from these 3 degrees, this is a hard eclipse. A lot of anger, a lot of frustration, because there's still some things in our life with relationships and money and attitudes about them that haven't fully been addressed here, to the extent that it is that they need to, even though we've been trying for a while, and now they need to be addressed. And there's a lot of sadness, fear, victim mentality coming up as a result of all of this confusion. That's hard. But you need to keep the hope that things can be better and tune in to the bright side here of things, and keep ending and releasing this stuff here, and try to detach from these challenging negative emotions that is going on. Because if you can do that, it's going to clean the slate of your life. It's going to clean out these negative things in your life and help you to kind of transform, to feel lighter and better here and more at ease in your situation. And it's going to help to bring the world around right, and to help you feel just like more at ease in your situation and in your experience, and able to handle it much better. Okay. And I think that's it. Because that's it, I'm now going to go ahead and pull your card. Your card for this eclipse is the Queen of Swords here reversed. And at the bottom of the deck, we've got Judgment upright. It's interesting because in this Judgment, it's the Queen of Hearts, I believe, from Alice in Wonderland. I think that Judgment, I think that, I just got the sense of a lot of people, judgment. I understand that judgment can mean some different things in tarot, but sometimes when I think of judgment, I think of like literally like being judged in like a court of law or something. And I think that that for a lot of you, there are relationships in your life that you're involved with that are now kind of having, like, coming to a little bit of like a judgment or sentencing, of what is going on here, based on past experiences, right? When you're in a court of law and you're making a judgment, it's usually on something from the past that's happened that there's a case for, of evidence, like this happened in the past, this didn't happen, here's the facts, here's the evidence. So I think that when it comes to, it could be the money, but I'm definitely feeling more of the relationships with like the Queen, all that, especially when it comes to relationships. I think there are a lot of you have people in your life that now it's coming to a moment, a fever pitch or a certain moment of like, what do I do next here? How to handle this situation. And I think the thought that I'm getting here is some of you need to look realistically at the previous behaviors with these people you've been dealing with. Okay, if their previous behavior has been time and time again out of alignment with you, not working, not helpful, not where it needs to be, then it's time to go. It's time for them to go here, in the situation here, and to, receive what they have coming to them. I think that's needed. And not only that, I think the message too is also to be honest as well about it, and to look at the past realistically, because I think sometimes what happens in relationships is that we forget about the things that have done from the past. We overlook the red flags, if you will. And then we keep thinking, oh, well, they'll get better. Oh, well, things will change. And when really there's no evidence to support that. And then they don't get better and then they don't change. So I think my thoughts here is that when it comes especially to relationships, be honest with yourself about the past and their behaviors and your behaviors here. And don't overlook these red flags here. That is going on, and don't think that someone's going to change and get better if they have no past experience, or history of that occurring. Okay, so I think there's some of that. None of this magical thinking when it comes to relationships here. Another thing too with the Judgment is also like, don't be afraid to give people what they have coming to them. If you're in a relationship with someone and you look back over their past history and they've never been there for you, they've never made an effort to meet you halfway or to do things that are important to you, and they've never made an effort, don't ignore that. Don't think all of a sudden it's magically going to change. And then don't be afraid to give them the judgment that they have coming to them, if that's what's required, right, in your situation here that's coming on, even if someone else thinks it's harsh. Thinks it's harsh or thinks it's uncomfortable here with the Queen of Wands, Especially because if this is the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, I don't remember the Queen of Hearts being very gracious in Alice in Wonderland. So you got to get real honest about what people truly are in alignment with you and which ones aren't, and not overlook the red flags and then act accordingly and give people what they've got coming to them, even if they don't really like it, because it is what it is. And stop this craziness, stop this madness with the Alice in Wonderland here reference. The Queen of Hearts, you got to stop this madness here with these relationships, right? Because what is the phrase, like, madness is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. It's like staying in the same relationship that's not working and expecting it to be different, staying in the same job that's not working, expecting it to be different, staying in the same money mindset and expecting money to be different. It's like you gotta look at the facts here and do something differently. And it's not just relationship, right? Maybe I do need to apply it. It's also money. You need to look back at your money situation here and look at the facts. And if your bills just aren't adding up and you don't have the money to add up to pay for the bills here then you need to stop with the magical thinking like, oh, all of a sudden the bills will get better. Like, they're not. You need to change your behaviors here and own up for it in order to kind of bring things together. So I think there's a need for that, or maybe to apply it internally. Some of you have a lot of internal fears around relationships, of being abandoned, being alone here that's going on. Well, you need to look at that realistically here for what that is, and not have this magical thinking of like, oh, well, someone's going to come sweep you up off your feet, and like, you're never going to be alone. You need to look at these fears that you have realistically for what they are, and understand that they're not just magically going to go away, that they need to be healed and addressed here, and that you can't depend on other people to do it. There's a need for you to kind of take care of that yourself. So I think that's what I'm going to say here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I hope you all have a good full moon, the best that you can, or that you weather it okay, because it does look a little tough here. And I will talk to you on the next video 2 weeks from now at the next new moon, which will be in Taurus. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.